What's up guys, Brandon here, time for another video lesson. I want to talk a little bit about using the daily chart to plan your intraday trades and why the moving averages are so important. Why I always keep a little daily chart up even if I have the big scale up. I create another mini detached chart to show the daily candles, right? So we're looking at Amazon here on the daily, and I just want to go over kind of a thesis on how we use the EMAs and how we use the daily chart to kind of predict or try to our plan of attack, right? So just using support and resistance off the daily right now, that's what we're going to focus on. You can see now the bearish outlook we've had in this last week, right? You know, take 11.8 for example. On the daily, we had broke under the 200 EMA right here, right? So we were looking for the retrace after we had snapped it down. So a lot of longs were starting to get in here and, you know, say we're kind of extended. Say we had this candle right here. This was the one put in on 1029, right? So I would see exactly where it bounced at. I would just kind of mark a horizontal line and I would extend it to the left. So I can kind of see where the correlation is for support and resistance. So I just want to take a peek back. I'm going to look back. I'm like, why did we bounce right here? Why would we pick you know, this place for support? So as something's breaking through the 200 EMA here, and we're trying to pick how far we're going to get extended from this 200 EMA on the daily, we're going to look at previous support and resistance on the daily every single time. Same for gap up, same for gap downs. A lot of our building structure on the trades for the day are going to come from the daily chart. So as we look here to the penny, it looks like Amazon hit this 1498, we'll call it, right here. And that's why we had this nice bounce here on the red. So we knew there was a ton of support there on Amazon at that level when she bounced right here, right? And the next following day obviously had a little bit more interaction with that point, but we can see all the tops right here of support. We have the body, we have 2 rejection points, 3 rejection points. We had a breakthrough and gap up over this line. Once we beat it, there's a gap up and a gap down, all revolving around this one support resistance line. So if I was looking to try to pick the bottom around Amazon, say I wanted to catch a bottom for a swing, I was making some intraday support, this is how I would focus it up, right? This is the huge line you'd be paying attention to. Not only do we have a big rejection on the daily and pullback, we have a breakthrough and a nice run up, we have support holds, we have a gap down and a gap up, all pertaining to this line. So we know this is going to be a very strong support and resistance line, right? Because we're using previous time frames and previous days on the daily chart to kind of dictate that. And the whole thought process on that, for the rest of the plays here, we're kind of taking a peek just to give Amazon you know, the flow, and we're trying to figure out what's going on here. We're going to pay attention to the 9 EMA. Now, when the 9 EMA is curling, you know, creating a downtrend here, we're just following it, right? It's starting to break through all the other EMAs. Like we have crossing the 50, we have it crossing the 100, we have it crossing the 200. You know, we're in a pretty big downward trend, right? So picking supports and resistances like that are very important. So if I was trying to plan, we have a little bit of a doji here on Amazon, and this was Friday, like 11/16. If I was trying to make a plan for the next trading day, I would kind of focus on the 9 EMA right now. We have crossed under the 200 EMA, right? We have 2 rejections. It just waited for the 9 to catch up, huge pullback, kind of found support right here. So I'd be kind of more interested in looking at, okay, what do we got right here that's so important, and why was that so strong? I'm going to extend it to the left. I'm just going to take a peek over here. And you can see the top right here, we had a very nice support hold where the 9 EMA held this 1545.80s area, and it was also a previous top. So this was previous resistance at one point. We had gapped up through it, held the gap, and then continued higher, right? So this is a big support level. This is something to always keep in mind, that, you know, there could be potential bounce plays there. That's why you always want to use these daily charts to figure out where your supports and resistances are. And when we had this gap up, I'm already kind of eyeing up this level right here. After this gap up on lows, just the body of this, and you see how this doji held pretty well up here. It's looking like Amazon's going to do 2 things here, open up on Monday, depending on how the market's going. We're already kind of downtrending up, so I want to wait to see what the stock does when the 9 EMA catches up for it, right? So I'd be looking for something like a run up into the 9, and I'm going to watch the daily chart as I'm trading intraday, because I always want to have that detached chart of a small little daily guy, so I know where my supports and resistance are. We have these big buy-up wicks that are resistance on the Amazon, right? If we drew a line right here, and we can see support, rejection, support, snap, big rejection on the doji. There's a lot of interaction with this level on Amazon. So I would go, okay, well, this 1602, which is very close to 1600 as a whole number, is a very big psychological number for Amazon. And you have to give Amazon a little bit more range because it does trade with such a great range and great spreads, where you just kind of draw this line and you're kind of crossing through all these wicks, and you're just going to look for this general price action area, right? So if I were to jump to the 1 minute, which we always like to use, and we have a ton of interaction with that support and resistance, and you can see kind of late day here, rejection, and rollover. My focus right here with all these higher lows and kind of curl, depending on what the market shows us on Monday, I'd be kind of taking a peek at Amazon's 9 EMA here. I'm going to look for it over the doji highs. If you're unfamiliar with the doji plan of attack, look at for the doji video lesson as a small video lesson on how we handle dojis, and there is one right here. So that's going to give you an indication of how to use this as well. So I would look for a run up and probably break out and hit the 9 EMA, and probably going to reject in the 1640s area if we don't have a nice gap up of strength and in continuation. So I'm going to look for it to break over all of this support it had, which is now resistance. All these wicks is buy up, buy up, buy up. We have a ton of support there. I want it to break and hold up here where all this support was, which is now resistance, right? We have this rejection here, and now we're getting the rejection here, because this gap right here of wicks, this big section, is all resistance now. So I want to see it up into this resistance and holding true to kind of continue upward. I mean, let's say this is a higher low off lows and we're looking for long plays. We're going to buy the pullbacks as long as they are holding the body of the doji here, right? This 1594, that's something I would look forward to for some strength. If it's showing some weakness, because we have a huge resistance level. You see these two wicks matching up right here? This is a very big resistance level. And if you draw a line right there to this guy, you can see all three interactions with the doji that we had on Friday. We can see it's major resistance right now. So if it comes up, you could start looking for weakness right at 1613.75, and we know that because we had two real solid interaction points on the daily chart, and we have a ton, this gap wicks right here with all these wicks. This is the range of wicks we're working with right here. So right now we're looking more bearish. It looks like we're going to come up into this area, have some resistance, wait for the 9 to catch up, and maybe push this down. If we get some consolidation here in this range and more higher lows to create the bull side, great. But right now we have the 50 crossing through the 100 day. We have the 9 crossing through the 200. That's a little bearish right now. I'd expect more downside before we have a nice run to the upside. And that's just a small lesson on kind of utilizing the daily chart for your support and resistance, and kind of keeping in mind where the EMAs are. And you're always going to want to use the interaction of these daily candles for your intraday trading. Like even just this one resistance point right here, if we were planning for that Friday trade and we popped in, we had this daily line drawn. It's a strong pre-market rejection. We had rejected it a few times at late day here on Thursday, and then Friday we have a big rejection point right there, right? So I mean, there was a lot of short play and momentum we could have seen here to the short side as it kind of ran up and then tested that level again and fell off. Right, there's a lot of trades to be had there on Amazon, so that's why it's so important to kind of be mindful of where you're looking at the daily chart. So your support and resistances, your EMAs, and kind of the overall sentiment of the stock. And you see this downtrend happening right now, and we have this weak little 9 EMA bounce over the 9, and we're back under the 200 EMA, kind of bearish. I'm going to look for a pop and drop. I don't even think we'll fill this doji, but we'll see. We're going to look at the price action in the morning. So small little lesson there. We'll see you for the next one.